is involved. These are some of the words that we hear of. These are also frequently used. Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, in his foreword in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, said corruption is a plague that has a wide range of corrosive effect on societies. What actually is corruption? We hear about corruption all the time. It is not a simple situation which can be handled overnight. Corruption is a complex situation. It involves the social, political, and economic situation which affect all countries. If people think that corruption only happens in certain part of the world, that is wrong. Corruption is a worldwide problem, and this problem needs global solution. Why is corruption so serious? Because it undermines democratic institutions and the rule of law. It also dampens economic development and distorts markets. There are global institutions that have put in effort in combating corruption. For more than 20 years, the World Bank Group has been working in its clients' countries to mitigate the destructive effect of corruption. The World Bank helped to establish competency to develop and implement policies. Besides that, programs and practices that are planned to strengthen public integrity and sustain anti-corruption efforts. Besides the World Bank Group, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, are also at the forefront of anti-corruption efforts. They have been involved in the planning and drafting of pragmatic frameworks and comprehensive benchmarks because all these are needed in the process of combating corruption. These are some of the requirements to achieve and reinforce legal and regulatory regimes. These regimes are needed as part of the process and effort to combat corruption. The adoption of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption was another remarkable achievement. This was complemented by another important implementation, the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. There are so many damages corruption can cause. Corruption is a big challenge to economic and social development around the world. The United Nations Secretary General made a special initiative, and it is known as the UN Global Compact. Under this UN Global Compact, there are more than 18,000 companies and 3,800 non-business signatories based in over 160 countries and 62 local networks. This makes the UN Global Compact the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. The UN Global Compact is a call to companies to support their company's operation and strategies with the 10 principles in the areas of human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. The aim is to raise the collective global impact of business through these 10 principles and by having responsible companies. The UN Global Compact is the biggest corporate sustainability effort in the whole world. It feels that the negative impact from corruption are on sustainable development, and it also affects poor communities. For companies, corruption slows down your business growth, increase your costs, and it brings serious legal and reputational risk. The 10 principles says that businesses should work against corruption in all its forms. As such, policies and programs to address all forms of corruption must be developed by companies, government, US agencies, and society so that we can all have a more transparent global economy. Besides the 10 principles, I would also like to mention about the anti-corruption call to action that was launched in 2014. This is another very important effort. It was an appeal by the private sector to government to implement anti-corruption measures and policies. This effort shows that private sector plays importance of having system of good governance that will be established. These are fundamental pillars of a sustainable and inclusive global economy, and these are also important views of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. For the government, there are a few parties that must forge alliance with. The civil society is one, international body and organization, and also the media were responsible. Reporting is important to have exposed corruption and promote messages which talk about anti-corruption to the society. It is not easy to raise above the problem caused by corruption and to tackle it because it is not a new problem. Corruption has plagued society for a long time. Slowing progress and even justice is sacrificed. Locally for Malaysia, the Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ibrahim, has announced for the country to fight corruption. He has demanded for urgent and quick action to be taken and has vowed to combat corruption that he described as a litmus test for government integrity. The government must implement what measures to check on accusation and report made to expose offences and offenders. For the government to take action, it is important to instill anti-corruption education and public awareness. Even for the school pupils in school, knowledge is not too early. The youth must know about values so that the country can shape individuals who are ethical and are aware of what is to uphold integrity. Like what I mentioned just now about civil society, the government cannot fight corruption by itself. It must involve all sectors of civil society and organization. Alliances must be formed to get international bodies to join in the fight. For Malaysia and for any other countries too, action plan must involve a collective effort, united country and government, transparency and accountability. Corruption is such an important issue for all to work on. Next year, in June 2024, the world's biggest independent global forum in fighting corruption will be hosted at Vilnius, Lithuania, the International Anti-Corruption Conference, IACC. For this, we can see that such plans and efforts to combat corruption are not only organized by certain organizations or countries, but also on a global basis. For us here at the World Anti-Corruption Conference, we have planned 4 sessions. Session 1 will focus on law enforcement, on prevention and prosecution, where our moderators and speakers will look at law enforcement role in prevention and prosecution, which is multifaceted and essential for the well-being of our society. We must recognize their effort in crime prevention and applaud their commitment to justice in prosecution. Our second session will talk about strengthening global governance mechanism. By strengthening global governance mechanism, we can build a world where justice and integrity prevail. A world where governments are accountable, institutions are transparent, and citizens are empowered to demand their rights. Our third section will discuss on preventing the misuse of laws to evade accountability, a grave concern that undermines the fundamental principle of fairness and justice. It is our collective responsibility to address this issue head-on. Accountability is the cornerstone of a just and equitable society. It ensures that those who wield power, whether in the public or private sector, are held responsible for their action and decision. It is the safeguard that prevents corruption and abuse of authority. In essence, accountability ensures that no one is above the law. The fourth session will debate about combating government corruption, ensuring accountability for clean governance. Corruption erodes the trust between the government and its citizens, undermines the rule of law, and diverts valuable resources away from the people who need them most. We cannot build a just and prosperous society without ensuring accountability for clean governance. With all this that I have mentioned, I am sure there will be interesting discussion that will take place here at our World Anti-Corruption Conference. We are confident that this discussion will contribute to all overall effort of combating corruption. I would like to wish all speakers, moderators and guests to a productive time. My gratitude goes to all our sponsors, our sincere thanks for your kind support. Your willingness to collaborate with ISI has brought the world anti-corruption to another level. With that, thank you very much.